Good afternoon to all of you. I am Sister Therese from the UISG Communication Office, and I'm very happy to welcome you here to this meeting. And 1 month ago, there has been the Jubilee Communication. So today it's 1 month later. So we would like to take this opportunity of speaking about this important event of 2025. So it's beautiful that this year of Jubilee year started with the Jubilee of the world of communications, as we must remember and remind ourselves that we must be hope tellers, carriers of hope, of peace. And this is our role as consecrated men and women, but also as a communicator. This is absolutely fundamental to remember this call. It's a call to witness and to be witnesses of hope. I would like to thank you all, particularly the 4 speakers who will carry with us their testimony, the word of joy to be part of this Jubilee of World Communication, which took place not only in Rome, but also worldwide. I would like to thank Geraldine. She is the secretary of the Land and Mission, Terra Missione Association, who will lead us today and moderate us. I would like to thank Anna, but unfortunately she is ill. So I would like to thank Geraldine for having taken over. Thank you to Father Benedict, to Sister Christine, Sister Adelaide from Kenya. She will be with us online, and also Sister Rose. They're both collaborators at the UISG. We are here together reflecting on our role as the communicators, as a tool for change. It is actually also a tool of both unity and growth. So in this day, we would like to pray for the Holy Father, for Pope Francis. And I just would like to end using his words that he left us during the Jubilee. At the time, he was really very happy to see all of these communicators together, and let's listen at his words. And also let us pray for his health, and let us listen to his words. Communicate is also a bit a way of coming out of oneself, to give what is mine to the other. Communication is not only, going outwards, but it's an encounter with the other. Knowing how to communicate is a great wisdom, I am truly pleased with this Jubilee of Communicators. Your work is a work that builds. It builds society. It builds the church. It makes everyone go forward, provided it is true. So communicated is a divine role. Thank you for what you are doing. So communicating is something divine. Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy. So with these words, communicating truth, communicating what we are, let us listen to the testimonies and the witnesses to celebrate our mission, the mission of being here in this world as signs of the presence of God, and also signs of believing that God was incarnated. So let you be inspired by these testimonies. I would like to beforehand thank the speakers, but also those who are here, the participants. I will hand over the floor to Géraldine and enjoy this conversation and listening. So good afternoon, good day to all of you. I'm really very, very happy to be with you. I am Géraldine Schwartz. I am a journalist. I collaborate with the São Paulo editions and with other newspapers and media, also for the Communication Center of Spirituality. So, but I'm here today. I'm replacing Anna Moccia, who is the president of Terra Emissione. It's an association which is also media, a newspaper, focusing on missions, ecology, integral ecology, peace. And I'm really very happy to be with you and to accompany you along this journey of about the role as communicators, because as the Pope has just said, we are at the same time, we are creators, and we can certainly generate seeds of hope. I was really touched by what the Pope said. God is the first communicator. And so certainly our role has something, I mean, as journalists, has something divine. And I want to thank you. I hope you can hear me properly. Yes? Can you hear the translation as well? Thank you very much. Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. I think everybody is nodding, so this is a good sign. I'm very happy to share this moment together with you. And as Sister Therese has just said, we have 4 speakers who will share their testimonies. I would like to introduce them. Sister Adelaide Ndilu, Sister of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. She is at the same time director of an important Catholic radio station, also executive secretary of the communication of the Conference of Catholic Bishops of Kenya. So she's a coordinator, and she's also a member of the board of the administrator of CINIS Africa, so basically representing that part of the Africa. Since the Pope has appointed her as member for social communication, part of the Vatican, to share her experience in the strategy of media and also to promote the role of the church in this digital era. We also have Sister Cristina Sobrino. She's Italian. She has studied at the Jesuits College. She has worked also in the accounting of a travel agent, and she started her vocation at the Santa Teresa home, which is a center for people with disability. She's from Guanella, the congregation of Guanella. She has studied communication at the Pontifical University of Santa Croce in Rome, and she's currently working in the field of communication for her institute, and she also collaborates with the UISG Communication Office then as other guests and speakers. Sister Rose Pacatte, daughter of St. Paul. She's an expert of media, and also she is currently chairing the Center of Media Studies in Rome. We also have Father Benedict Mayaki. He's a Jesuit. From Nigeria. He has achieved a master on social communication at the Gregorian University, Pontifical University. He has worked as a journalist for Vatican News, and now he's part of the UISG sorry, the communication office of the Jesuits in Rome, and he also has managed and designed the website. He's also in charge of media, social media. So thank you for your presence here today, and I would like to start with some questions. I would like to kindly invite the guests. Now, if I ask you a question, kindly your answers, could you remain within 4 minutes? Because we have scheduled to end by 5 p.m. Roman time. So now that we are here together, reflecting on our role as communicators, sorry, also as carriers of a seed of hope, I would like to ask you what kind of, was the meaning? What did this Jubilee Day of the world of communication meant to you? I would like to ask you, Sister Adelaide, first, if you are willing to share what actually, when you, at the end of that day, what was your feeling? What did you feel about it? What remained with you?
Thank you very much, sister. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. Hello, everybody. My name is Sister Adelaide, and allow me to share just a bit of what I think the significance of communication for me during this time. I'm grateful for the church for this great opportunity that it has provided for each and every one of us to reflect, and especially for us who are communicators, the role of the significance of the Jubilee year for us. I would start by saying that this Jubilee year is very important, and it calls us, it aims to promote deeper understanding of communication, deeper understanding of communication. And not only understanding of communication, but also I think also engaging in communication. And so, as a church, how can we engage in communication? How can we engage during this Jubilee year of communication? The church, I think, calls us to for renewal and reflection, to renew, to look at ourselves. How have we been able to communicate? We talk of interpersonal communication, other types of communication as a person. How have I been able to communicate? And secondly, using the social communication, use of social communications, use of media to communicate. This is the time during the Jubilee year that the church calls us to celebrate, to communicate more, and to give hope to the people, and to use our means of communication to reach the people. And this time is a time also for evangelization. And this year serves to renew the church's commitment to evangelization, also through communication, thus fostering a spirit of inclusivity and outreach. The Pope is always talking about reaching the peripheries, those who are excluded, those in the margins. During this year, Jubilee year of communication, how do we bring them in? And overall, I can say that the Jubilee year of communication is a call to enhance and celebrate the power of communication in building community and sharing the Christian message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Adelaide. Sister Cristina, could you switch off your microphone, Sister Adelaide? Sorry, thank you. So the question is now, yes, we can hear you. Now the floor is to Sister Cristina. I would like to thank all of you, particularly those who are connected online. I'm not Italian, I am Spanish. Although I've been for many years in Italy, and you probably will be rapidly aware.
I am greeting those who are listening to us in Spanish, so thank you.
Over the line. I would like to thank Sister Geraldine who invited us to answer to this question, the Jubilee of the world of communication. It hasn't been only a form of celebration, but particularly the role of communication in our daily lives. So attending the audience with Pope Francis allowed me to listen to words which were not spoken, but which somehow came out from the heart of Pope Francis. We know that beautiful, gesture. So basically he handed over his written speech, but he said just a few words in a very spontaneous, way. We said we should build society, build the church, and this has to be done telling the truth. But are you always saying things which are true, but not only speaking the truth, but are you true in your lives? Well, this is a question which actually questioned me a lot. To what extent am I able to be authentic, to what extent am I true in my role as communicator? I think that they certainly will project something which is a beautiful piece of work and a masterpiece. It's by Michelangelo, which is the image, the creation of Adam, the first man. And it's a meeting between man and God. And it's a moment of communication, but it is expressed through a gesture. It's not done through words, as I said, but life passes through without words, through this touch. So it's a way of communicating in truth, with authenticity, trying to build, eliminating walls, overcoming differences in order to build long-lasting relationships. Our role is not simply to inform, but to promote and favor a true encounter which can build a community and which can make everybody feel part of a community. So when we tell the truth, when we tell something which is true, I think we are change makers. I believe, therefore, that communication is a choice of setting up real, authentic relationships so that our world can be more human, and also closer to each other. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I would say that what you have underlined, the fact of being bridges, I think this is one of the first roles in communication. Never taken for granted, but opening up to, content, I think is very important. What is, Sister Rose, what has been your experience? The Jubilee.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, and I'm very happy to be with you. I'm from the United States originally, as you can tell, most recently from California. So I bring you long California greetings from far away. My experience with this particular Jubilee was really unique. This is my third opportunity in my lifetime to be in Rome for a Jubilee year, and it's the first time I was able to participate in any event directly connected with communications, which is the charism of our Pauline community. So for me, the Jubilee days, there were 3 days that I was very involved in. Was very exciting and filled with inspirational experiences and meeting people with the same passion for communication of the gospel in every form. And that began with visiting Vatican News and visiting the Marconi Radio Museum in Vatican City State and
was really very unique. And then there was the day-long conference for religious, was mostly from religious around the world, although there were some lay people there, mostly women religious actually. And it was held in the Aula Sistina, as I hope you can see on the slide. I don't see it, but it's there on the slide. It was such a beautiful surrounding. It was painted in the Renaissance by according to my research, of a group of anonymous painters, but it's so exquisitely beautiful and communicating so much beauty and truth and goodness. And the whole theme was on hope telling, on storytelling. So we had different went on all day long, but there were different sessions with different emphases on how sisters are telling stories of hope, from how they speak to journalists in places of crisis, for example, the border between Mexico and the United States, or in Africa between Uganda and different warring groups. It was really very, very intriguing, and also it really did tug at my heart. And I know the hearts of everyone there, according to the responses that came forth. And hearing so many hopeful stories and exploring that idea of hope telling, not just storytelling, but hope telling, was really intriguing. I mean, whoever coined that phrase actually, I think, did something very helpful to the ambient, the environment of communication, because it reminds us that we want, even in the darkest stories that perhaps we are called to tell of the human condition, we always want to inspire hope, as Pope Francis has expressed it. And so what do I feel? What does this Jubilee mean for me? It means, it makes me feel more hopeful, and that sisters around the world from every congregation are creating art and content and telling the truth about current events and how they impact people on the peripheries. This is especially something that I will keep with me always in prayer and in practice. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you very much.
Grazie mille. E volevo porre la stessa domanda a padre Benedict, appunto, che proprio l'impressione di che cosa ha suscitato in lei questo giubileo della comunicazione, le prime riflessioni.
Sorry, the microphone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share my experience of the Jubilee of Communications. I feel blessed among women. I think I'm the only male face I've seen around here, so I don't know how it is online, but thank you very much. My experience of the Jubilee of Communications was looking at it from a general perspective. I think, first of all, it was a validation of communication as a ministry. For me, it was the church saying that the communications is not just a tool, but a vocation. And that by dedicating that, beginning the year, the Jubilee year, and dedicating the Jubilee to it, I think that the church is saying that the work of communicators is not just what we do as a job or something, but we are people who contribute to the sacred act of evangelization. And so in participating in that Jubilee of Communication, I think it reframes my daily tasks, the writing, the editing, the whatever it is. It is part of the church's mission to go out into the world, to go to the digital peripheries, as Pope Francis always asks us to do. I think that another importance or another significance of the Jubilee of Communications for me was that it addressed modern challenges in the world, tackling misinformation, the information overload that all of us deal with every day. And Pope Francis always speaks about speaking from the heart. The video that was shown just at the beginning of this event, Pope Francis was asking us to speak the truth. And in a world where there are so many perspectives of what the truth is, and so many people define what they call truth, I think it's important that we address modern challenges, especially in the world of communication. And I think that another significance of the Jubilee for me was collaboration over competition. Everybody's trying to break the news, everybody's trying to write the better article, everybody's trying to do the better video. I think that the Jubilee gave the opportunity for everyone to gather together and celebrate communication. Theologians, journalists, tech experts, everyone stood in the same place and we celebrated communication. It was an opportunity to share resources, to tell stories, to meet with younger creators, to meet with people who had more experience than others. We even speeches from Nobel Prize winners and all of that. All of that, I think, highlighted collaboration instead of competition. And I think another significance for me is that hope, putting hope as a core message was important for me. Today we have so many, I mean, for me, hope is a radical counter-narrative in a world that is dominated by sensationalism, doom, I don't know, misery and tragedy and wars. I think that putting hope as the center, Pope Francis, I mean, in his message beginning the Holy Year, to speak about hope, Christian hope that does not disappoint. And I think that bringing communications, my experience of that Jubilee of Communications was bringing hope in the center of it. And I think that another significance for me is the spiritual renewal of a demanding field. Many people who work in the world of communications will tell you they're stressed, there are deadlines, there are things to publish, there's always some post to put up and something. I think it gives a spiritual dimension to the work that communicators do. I mean, there were masses, there was pilgrimages and all of that. It gave that dimension to our work. So I think in some of these points just wrap up the significance of this Jubilee for me. It was moving my job as a communicator from something that I do as a job to a participation in the important work of evangelization. That's prerogative that Jesus gave all of us at the end of the Gospel of Matthew, to go into the world and proclaim the good news. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Father Benedict. I would like to move on, and I would like to ask you, considering also your role as communicators in your current roles, and if you have to define the role of media in spreading a message of hope. I mean, it's not only a question of spreading a message, but also the content is very important. It can shed light. Maybe instead of creating division. So what is the role of media in spreading a message of hope in your role today? I would like to start as earlier with Sister Adelaide as first speaker. The floor is yours, Sister.
Thank you very much. As we all know, media plays very important role, and it can play a very important role in spreading messages of hope, and probably to highlight a few of them of how the media can spread these messages of hope. I work in a radio stations, and in a radio station is called Radio Omini. And Radio Omini means faithful, so a radio of the faithful. And as a Catholic media, we've always spread messages of hope. And how do we do it? We provide timely and relevant information about, positive developments, inspiring stories, success stories, which can encourage and also uplift the audience. Probably somebody's down with one issue or the other. So when we disseminate this information, probably somebody out there could feel encouraged. We also spread messages of hope through highlighting social issues and also community efforts. Media can raise, awareness and also motivate people to engage in positive change and also responsibility. Sister also spoke about storytelling. Storytelling is very important, and through these narratives, narratives of resilience, narratives of achievement, narratives of success, those people that have made it in life, media can inspire individuals and communities, showing that positive outcomes are possible even in very difficult circumstances. Media also can encourage, platforms for facilitate discussion on important topics. Yes, media facilitates discussions on important topics and calls on the audience probably to participate either through call-ins, either SMS or through whatever means of social communication, and thus allowing for a sharing of experiences and ideas that can foster hopeful outlook and mature support among the audiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm quite touched when you said media as a center for dialogue, because it's true. Also, the social media somehow are like a place where you can have dialogue and communication, because we receive a lot of information also from grassroots. Thank you. So, Sister Adelaide and Sister Cristina, in your opinion, what kind of role do the media have? How are you living this kind of reflection? Oui? Ah, ok, je vais augmenter. Okay. I must say that the message that we receive is a message of hope and messages of hope, of resilience. And I can say this is really an art. We should maybe tell the daily successes. And Hope said, it's true, we have to share hope, but also in what Maria Reza has said on peace. I was really struck by what she said. Hope is never passive. It's always active. It's ongoing and strategic. So every single story, every image certainly is shedding light in the life of others. And I invited you to see a beautiful fresco, the fresco by Michelangelo in the Sixtine Chapel, as you have seen earlier. But I want to share with you this photo. I'm sure you have seen, it's very well known. I think it's being shared on the screen. So they actually have won an award. This is a Syrian child. He's 5-year-old and he's born without limbs. So he's smiling, and the father lost also one leg during the conflict. This is a symbol of the conflict, of the Syrian conflict, but it's also a sign of hope, because after having lived so many difficulties, the family came to Italy. They were able to move to Italy, where they not only pain and suffering, but also a sign of solidarity, and the fact that also media can bring hope. So Maria Risa tells us so our role as communicator is offering to us a way of transforming reality. Due to an over information, we have to share this. I'm thinking about Maria Ressa, as she has said, hope starts from action. And we can choose to be small tools of that same. Thank you. Sister Cristina, I'm sorry, apparently you're not hearing well from English. Sister Rose, how do you live that?
I would like to go back to the experience that we had at the Aula Sistina at the Vatican Library. I don't know if you can bring up that slide. Oh, I see it. It is up there. And I was asked to speak on a surprising topic, and that was to explore what it was about legacy media or traditional media, especially books. And I'm thinking to myself, we live in this dynamic digital universe, and they want me to talk about old-fashioned books. But having said that, it's really intriguing when you think of it, because we live in a very hybrid media society. It's both and. We still have books. We still, of course, and if we're at the Vatican Library, all these wonderful books hold our traditions that go back centuries, of course. So I titled my presentation, Exploring Faith Media and the Hybrid Media Environment. That basically looked at books vis-a-vis digital media. And we rely on books. One of the questions I asked during my presentation was if we were ever stuck in some kind of dystopian universe, and we were on a desert island and we only could take 3 books with us, and there was no digital framework left for us to work with, the grid was gone, what 3 books would you take with you? Because if we can't be connected, we need to have our printed books with us. So the importance of spreading messages of hope, both via traditional means and new digital means, remains important. However, it's a struggle, especially if you're a religious community dedicated to publishing books, when you have to compete with these huge giants like Amazon and other distribution methods. It's very difficult to print as many new titles or to print as many copies because people are online and they're reading things digitally, and even our bookstores are really bookstores because everything else, movies, radio, music, everything else is online. So while we want to keep both, and it remains a challenge for us, but yet print keeps us connected to our history, our traditions, and new digital print helps us grow in fidelity and relevance as we communicate Jesus in the modern world with modern means. Our young people are all reading devices. Their parents are all reading devices. Therefore, we have, and I'll come to this on the 4th question, but we kind of are called to be hope tellers using both print and digital means. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the word hope it comes from Latin, pest, but also spa. That is reaching out towards a certain target. It would be wonderful to, make sure that our content in our article, are we sure that this is this leading us towards some kind of achievement? So thinking in our work as communicator, maybe we should question ourselves. What is our goal? Where are we heading? Because we have to understand because I think that we are, responsible, and our responsibility is also
Thank you, Geraldine. I think that the role of the media in spreading messages of hope is a role that is both profound and very urgent, especially in the world that is grappling with crisis, with polarizations, with existential anxieties. And I think that it's not just naivete or ignoring reality, but I think that it is also a role that illuminates a path forward. It amplifies human dignity and it fosters resilience. Sister Rose spoke about communicating Jesus, and Sister Adelaide spoke about many ways in which this takes place. And I want to reiterate that storytelling is something that is very, very important for me, and that is what we have. I think that is our core medium as people who work in communications, storytelling. And storytelling, not just any kind of storytelling. We have written storytelling, we have videos, we have different ways of telling stories. I think that these stories, in carrying out our role as media in spreading hope, I think that these stories should remind us of our shared humanity and highlight acts of courage. Another role of the media in spreading the message of hope, I think, is to counter the attention economy. We live in an economy where what grabs the attention, what new trend is where everybody goes. But I think that the attention economy is something that we have to testify to. We have to be Christians to. In the face of these algorithms that prioritize fear and division, I think that we can redefine what sells. Not following the world in following, I don't know, the latest trend or the latest challenge or whatever it is, but we can redefine what sells to be messages of hope, messages that uplift humanity, messages that preach Jesus, as Sister Rose says. I think that one important role we have is the ethical responsibility to truth. In a world where there's a lot of false news, in a world where there's a lot of misinformation, I think that one of our roles in spreading the message of hope is to be diligent in our rigorous fact-checking, in transparency, in avoiding fatalistic language, and in speaking up against systematic injustices. I think that is important. That is one of our roles as media in spreading this message of hope. Another one, I think, will be amplifying marginalized voices. There are so many voices in the world that are crushed, that nobody listens to. There are voices that don't have a space, that don't have a microphone, don't have a loudspeaker in front of them. I think that it is our duty as people who work in media, as communicators, to look for these voices, however silent they are, however faltering they are, whatever language they express themselves in, to look for those voices and give those voices a multiplier impact, a multiplier effect, a space where they can be heard, a space where the world can, from east to west, from north to south, join together in this tapestry of hope, and everyone in one chorus speaks about hope. I think that is our job. That is our job as people who work in media. And I think that we can be an example to foster community and agency, to create spaces where people can have dialogue, and to highlight actionable steps, to elevate solutions journalism. I think that journalism should be something that pushes solutions forward, and not just informing people about the latest explosion somewhere or the latest, I don't know, violent attack somewhere. But we can be means, we can be media through which solutions come into the world. I think another thing we can do, that media can do, is to model constructive discourse, to teach the world how to have constructive discourse, to show the world what it is to have a space where there is no inflammatory rhetoric, where there is respect in debate, where everyone can be heard and everyone's point of view carries weight. Thank you.
Thinking of this message of Benedict, it reminded me the words of Pope Francis, that is, that communication should be a song of hope, a choral voices mirroring the society. I would like to just give you 5 minutes of break before starting with the next round of questions. Just 5 minutes. So I think we can resume, and we thank you very much. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for what you have, shared with us. I would like to ask you now, first of all, I want to tell you that you will have some time, maybe for some questions for those who would like to maybe, be able to say something. I would like to now ask our guests, the church. They have celebrated the Jubilee of the World of Communication as the first event of the Jubilee year. How did you live that? Sister Adelaide, can you start?
Yes, I can hear you. Let me see whether I can see the question. Okay, thank you. The church's first jubilee was that of communication. And so I was asking myself, which was the first jubilee? And I noticed that apart from the church's jubilee, we also have the first jubilee in the Bible that is mentioned in Leviticus, if I'm not wrong, chapter 25 and chapter 26. And also the first jubilee of the church inaugurated by Pope Boniface the Seventh, if I'm not wrong. And so we are saying, what message can this experience convey? Number one, it highlights the need of open communication channels and fostering an environment where an individual can share their thoughts and feelings. Have you ever lived in a community where you can share freely and talk freely and you are understood? No misinformation, and when there is a miscommunication, questions are asked and people share openly and they are not betrayed. This is the type of communication that I think talks about here, open communication. You share your feelings, share from what you feel inside your heart. And when we share what we feel inside our hearts, I think our hearts are also freed. Then a jubilee invites people to seek forgiveness and mend relationships, encouraging a spirit of reconciliation within fractured communities. In communities, as we communicate, chances are knowingly or unknowingly, you could offend somebody or talk probably something that may not be very pleasing. Are we in a position to say that I am sorry so that we can continue and there exists a reconciliation with the other person, probably in my place of work, probably in my religious community, and so on and so forth. So forgiveness and reconciliation is very important, and this is what existed in the first community. We also have effective communication strengthens bonds within community, facilitating a collaborative efforts and mutual support. When you are able to speak your heart and you are understood, you feel also supported and you can open up more. And also engaging in a meaningful dialogue can lead to deep understanding and growth in one's faith journey. So spiritual growth, we think that where we can engage in dialogue, and when we're able to engage in dialogue openly, freely, it can lead to spiritual growth. And so answering the next question, and how can you personally experience this communication? Reflecting on this experience, one might consider instances where open communication lead to resolving conflicts or strengthening relationships, either within a community, family, or even personal life. For example, participating in group discussions, workshops, or faith sharing sessions could foster a sense of belonging and also enhance a personal faith through shared experiences. So we are saying that if you are looking to explore this theme further, we could consider how communication has shaped probably my understanding or your understanding of forgiveness or even community in your life or the lives of those around you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Adelaide. Thank you. Sister Cristina, how did you actually live the central role of communication in this Jubilee year, and what was the message you received? This is a very interesting question, I must say, because as you mentioned, it is not simply a question of the fact that the Jubilee year started with communication, has been for the first time celebrated it has also been celebrated on the day of Saint Francis of Sales, who is the patron of Communicator. It's not only it's not a question of an isolated question. It's also a way of healing wounds, of bringing people closer. So it's a community which has to be able to listen and not to judge. I think this is a special event, and certainly what we have to do is something that we have to do every day in our service as communicators. I think about Michelangelo, the Sixtine Chapel, as a moment of encounter. And I'm thinking at the second question. So I'm thinking about the beautiful photo of this child and his father from Syria. Pope Francis used this word, hope telling. I think it's beautiful because it combines two words, telling and hope. So we are, in our work, we are accustomed to use this storytelling. But we know that we have to go beyond that to be able to tell stories which can bring hope and which can inspire. I think that the experience of this Jubilee invited me to think how important it is to me, for me, daily to think at that. It's not only a question of telling stories, news, but trying to basically consider those stories which may actually shed light and sharing not only what is happening, but also that kind of hope which is true also in the difficult moments. I live in a center with children with disabilities, and it's quite difficult to make them understand that hope is inside. It's a true challenge. Its call is truly a challenge. I am ever more aware of how and what I can communicate, trying to contribute in building a world which is more fair and more in solidarity. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. I agree with you. So in fact, it's something that we have to understand. Where should we shed light? I think that's already a choice as such. Sister Rose, I would like to ask you exactly the same question. How did you, experience, the central role of this Jubilee, the world of communication, and what kind of message did you receive?
Well, I took a little bit of a different spin on this because for me, celebrating communication around the Feast of St. Francis de Sales, which comes just before the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul, which is the great communicator. But St. Francis de Sales was the patron saint of journalists. He is the patron saint of journalists. So it's very significant that we celebrate this Jubilee at this time because of the way that truth is threatened today, how truth and hope tellers suffer for their vocation. And we had Maria Rezas, who spoke on the 24th of January at the gathering of communicators in the Aula Paulo VI in the Paul VI Hall. And she's a Nobel laureate, and she is still under indictment in the Philippines. She had to ask permission to leave the Philippines because of her truth-telling. And she spoke about the freedom of the press. So we and the people who suffer for exercising that to bring us the truth in the stories that they tell. So the Pope's announcement of the theme for the World Day of Communications on the 24th of January during this Jubilee celebration is very significant. I don't know how many of you are aware that since 1967, we have celebrated a World Day of Communications every year on the 7th Sunday of Easter, and this year it will be on June 1st. So what we will see is a continuation of the Jubilee of Communications in January carried forth into June on the 7th Sunday of Easter, just before Pentecost. And this announcement largely went unnoticed, except by, I guess, communication nerds like myself. So I want to mention it here. The theme is, as you can see on my slide, share with gentleness the hope that is in your hearts. And that day will highlight today's communication, and even the Jubilee communication, of course, highlighted that communication is often violent. And this comes from the statement released by the Vatican regarding this World Communications Day, that this violent communication, striking rather than fostering dialogue. We must disarm violent communication and cleanse it of aggression. From television talk shows to online conflicts, the dominant trend risks becoming one of competition, opposition, and domination. And for myself, this experience is very much about a living theology of communication, because our church communicates God's self-communication in revelation, the incarnation, and creation. And so this is my passion as a daughter of St. Paul, as a Pauline sister. And I hope it, and I know it is, the passion of all hope tellers and truth tellers, that we are communicating revelation, God's self-revelation, the incarnation, and creation in everything that we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Father Benedict, how did you live the central role of communication? Do you think it has been just a simple coincidence, or was it actually there has been a different reason behind that?
O secondo te no?
Thank you very much. I think that the decision to inaugurate the 2025 Jubilee year with the Jubilee of Communications is deeply symbolic and strategic. It's not something that was done as a fluke or just happened by hazard. I think it reflects the Church's recognition of communication as both a modern imperative and as a theological priority. If God communicates with us, if Jesus himself is communications embodied, God's love to us, I think that the church is saying in some way that the gospel that is shared is as vital as the message itself. In a world that where we are bombarded by communications, different messages going left and right, even those that are subliminal, I think it aligns with the church's idea that we are to go everywhere. We are to go to the digital peripheries and meet people where they are. So I think it's very strategic. It underlines that even as important as communications is, it can also be a theological tool. It is a theological priority. If God communicates to us, we too are to communicate with one another. I want to underline that the church cannot proclaim hope or justice and renewal if its voice is drowned by the noise and the misinformation in the world. I feel that communication, putting it as the first Jubilee, the church is saying that communication is the bridge between faith and the modern world. All that we have as our faith, all that we have as we've received from those before us. The apostles passed down the faith. All of that is communication. It is our duty to also communicate. I think that is what the church is saying by putting communications as the first Jubilee year event. I also think that it sets the tone for the Jubilee year's theme. We're talking about hope. We are talking about communicating hope and transmitting hope. I think that if we begin by highlighting communications, communicators are therefore obligated to communicate the different events, Jubilee year events, and the different themes of the Jubilee year. I believe that hope cannot be spread in silence. Hope has to be communicated. And by communicating hope, hope grows larger. I think that the church is underlining the important role of communications in spreading hope. I also feel that the church is often accused of being slow to move with modernity. The church is always often accused of thinking in centuries. I think that by highlighting communications and by engaging with digital tools and digital platforms first, the church is balancing tradition and innovation. It signals a church that is adapting also and reading the signs of the times, while also teaching us how to avoid the pitfalls of technology and AI and all of those things. And I think that it mirrors Pope Francis's critique of a throwaway culture, while affirming that technology has potential for doing good. I think that the church is, by putting the Jubilee of Communications first, the church is not retreating into the past, but it's embracing the future to humanize the digital age, to humanize the world we are living in with fast communication trends. I want to reiterate what Sister Rose said about the living theology of communication. I think that what the church is doing is reflecting that modern imperative and a theological priority of communications. Thank you.
I agree with you. I agree. And I also believe that Pope Francis has changed communication in terms of the different moments of his pontifical and pontificate. I think that also the way he's living his pontifical mission shows the importance that he assigns to communication. As a last question, in the light of what you have heard, the many reflections, the many comments, in terms of form, content, choice, building bridges, how do you expect and how do you plan to live hope throughout this year? Which are the seeds that you find in your work and your mission?
Yeah.
I would like to start always with Sister Adelaide.
Yeah, thank you. I think I've worked in the communications office and in a media house for a number of years now. And I think for me, this year is a bit, it's going to be very different because of the we really want to communicate hope. You know, in African countries, in my country, Kenya, we have a lot of issues, political issues, economical issues. The young people calling themselves Gen Zs feel very discouraged, and after completing their studies, after completing the universities, there are no jobs for them. And you know, this year, or sorry, last year, they took to the streets, and somehow, the government was able to listen to them, but just to a certain extent. So these are the people we really want to give hope, and we want to do that using the very media that we are used to doing that, but in a very special way, having a program that talks to the young people. And how we plan to do is that we bring a young person on air, and if she doesn't mind, or if he doesn't mind, we reveal her image, we reveal herself. If she minds, then we don't say the real name. We fake the name and use a different name, and tell the listeners about what somebody is going through. This young person is going through, what this Gen Z is going through. And after that, we invite the listeners to contribute, to give, to share what advice they would have to this person, to this young person. And after they have talked and talked and talked and shared, they have given their advice, then we bring in an expert to address the issue properly. This probably could be mental health or health issues or financial issue, whatever it is. We bring in an expert to address that issue. And if possible, we try to connect that person with the probably, mm, if he's finding job, we could see how, as a whole, the listeners, the expert, us on air, how could we help this person? Is she looking for a job? Is she feeling lonely? And so on. So we try as a body, all of us together, the listeners, those on air, try to solve the problems this person is going through. And we believe that when we do that, we are not addressing only that. There are so many people there, so young, many young people who could be experiencing the same issues. So by addressing, just every week, you take one issue and address, and by doing that, I want to believe that we'll be able to reach so many people, not only the young people, but even others, they could be undergoing the same issues. So I think we'll be telling also success stories of people who have made it in life, so that those who are feeling downtrodden, those who are feeling like the world is coming to an end, you tell them the world is not really coming to an end. There are people who have passed through some same challenges, and they have made it in life. And so we try to help the person to see how the person could probably make it in life. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, Sister Cristina, now, where you are carrying out your mission as a communicator, do you have any ideas to actually talk about these new seeds of hope? Yeah, we do hear you now. Yes. Well, what I can tell you is that how do I expect to live that and to tell about hope? I must say that this word, living hope, you know, but how do I plan to live that? And Pope Francis, but are you truly living reality? Extending that to hope, we as ecclesial communicators, we do not necessarily communicate hope. This hope has actually a face. It's Jesus Christ. And so we are actually called to communicate that. And I think that there are some allies. So we are trying to be truly authentic, and I try to do the same. So the first is hope. So that does not mean ignoring, you know, difficulties. There are certainly many difficulties. So communicating. So it's two different stories. Just as hope can be visible and can transform. So looking at the sky. So I think we have to have a certain outreach, so more than communicating information and news. So as congregations, we have to open up and try to basically provoke reactions that can convert and change reality. I think that it is hope which allows us to undertake an inner path, but also as a community, we never journey alone. And this is something which is lifelong, but which actually makes us completely and restless. And this is what communication is about, an ongoing search. It's never something immediate and frozen. It has to be deep, attentive, and also promoting reflection and focusing on truth. A fourth ally is the joy, the great joy and happiness, which makes joy visible and makes our hope visible. So we are called to share this happiness in what we say and what we are telling and what we are trying to convey and spread. Fifth ally is just as important, is creativity. Hope is looking ahead at the future, and creativity is an energy which is creating something new and which gives us new forms to communicate good. Good with a capital G, that is the God, Jesus. It also opens up to questions and also cracks in our lives, so that through those cracks, hope can sieve through. It's the creativity of love. I would like to invite you to listen to a very short message which tells us out of these 5 allies: trust, desire, journey, joy, and creativity, but also fear. It's an enemy to us. It's a very short clip. To believe, know that you can, believe that you can.
Know that you can, want to,
eliminate fear.
Remove the fears,
Paint
take them out,
face,
paint your face
hope,
with the
and
color
look
of
at
hope,
the future with
attempt
an open heart.
the future with your heart.
Enjoy the song. I think that even if it was in Italian, fortunately, you can understand. I tried to give you a short translation, but I just wanted you to enjoy the music. So I believe that thinking at the diversity. Well, let's hope that this Jubilee let's hope to have a world of solidarity, united and full of hope. Thank you very much. Thank you also because you mentioned these allies who are like our guardian angels. Sister Rose, same question. So how do you expect to tell about, how are you going to do this hope telling?
Grazie. Thank you. So my plan for this year, but my ongoing plan, is to continue communicating and teaching that the media, all media, old and new, and enduring and emerging, are gifts of God to use for the good. As a media literacy educator, my hope, and that means to be media literate, means to access, analyze, evaluate, and create media. As a media literacy educator, my hope is that the more we become media mindful and discerning media consumers and critical thinkers about the media that we encounter and consume and create, and the more we become discerning media consumers, as I said, as storytellers, hope tellers, and truth tellers, we will become loving imitators of Christ to all those we meet. I want to continue to invite people to look at film, television, and listen to radio, read books and magazines or online or with actual paper, or play video games on our phones or in our homes, to use the lens of the gospel and hope, and choose to participate in family life and society and the church as members of Christ's church, to be a light of hope to the world, to make good choices, and to be media literate and to teach media literacy is to equip people with skills to encounter, consume, and create media. And embedded in that, which doesn't cost anything to teach people these skills, embedded in that is to have a communications plan for whatever phase of communication that we're doing. And I'm working within a plan, and I'm sure that most of you are too, especially a communication plan on different levels. Because if we don't have a plan, then a goal without a plan is just a wish. So if we want to put into effect our good intentions and our good resolutions about communication, let us think about and actually have a plan to do that. So those are just some of the things that I hope to continue doing. And as Sister said, with authenticity. I think that that is so important. Thank you. May I just continue with one thing? The picture that you saw, the big group of people in St. Peter's Square, that was a group called Signis, Signis, and the name is on there. You can see it at the bottom, Signis World. This is the international group of Catholic communicators that is approved by the Vatican. And this is how many of us were present for the World Jubilee Days of Communication. And then on the right, that's me at the end of a long line of our own sisters and members of the Pauline family as we made our own pilgrimage that morning before we met in the Paul VI Hall. with these pictures, I wanted to share with you what our experience of these days was, and it was really quite wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Grazie. Grazie anche per questo racconto per immagini, grazie. E Padre Benedict, tu hai una strategia, come prevedi di vivere e di raccontare la speranza, diciamo, diffusa da questo primo giubileo della comunicazione?
Thank you. I think I took this question very practical, away from the more general way of looking at it. I looked at my life as a priest, as a Jesuit, and someone who works in the world of communications, and I asked myself, what is my communications plan, or how do I plan to incarnate hope in my life? And some of the things that came up in my prayer and in my reflection was personal spiritual practices, first of all, sacramental focus, prayer groups, going through the holy door, doing pilgrimages and all of that, and keeping a hope diary, highlighting places where hope comes up in my life. I also plan to live out hope by community initiatives, movies in my community, service projects, interfaith dialogue, speaking with people about hope. I work in the world of communications. Digital evangelization, I think, is something that comes easy. And so even in my office, we're talking about hope campaigns, talking about creating a challenge where people can tell stories of hope and share them with us, and we share it on a larger platform on our social media handles and all of that. Podcast, creating challenges that people can participate in and say they too are doing their own little bit to bring about a small spark of hope in the world. I think art exhibitions, that cultural expressions, music, theater, poetry, giving those things a space to become amplified, I think that is one way of planning, of living out hope in this Jubilee year. Pope Francis speaks a lot about ecology and taking care of our common home. I think that's one way of giving up hope also, because hope has to extend beyond us to the planet. The planet has to have a future. If we destroy all of it, there's no tomorrow. So ecology, sustainability initiatives, I think all of these things contribute to telling about hope. And as Sister Rose said, education and formation. If the future is the youth, if the children are the future of tomorrow, we need to educate and form them in hope. I think workshops, study groups, youth programs, catechism, small things that gather young people together, I think is important. And even adults, it's not just young people that need hope in their lives. I think advocacy, speaking about fighting for things that bring about hope, not allowing situations of war, situations of deportations, of all those things overrun what we do, but to speak up for what is right. And of course, as a priest, say one or two masses with the theme of hope, give a homily around the theme of hope. I think that is important. Processions and all of that. And then media and technology, a lot of young people today spend hours in front of video games and all of that. We can gamify hope. We can create something that young people can do as a challenge and participate in hope. And then with this burst of AI that we have in our world today, I think AI can also be put into, getting people to think how AI can amplify hope. I don't have a clear idea now in my head, but I think it's one of those things that I'm thinking about. It could be, I don't know, an agent or something that just amplifies hope in our day-to-day lives. But also in thinking about this, and I'm going to ask for a few more seconds, in thinking about this, I want to underline that hope is a theological virtue. It's important for us. We should root it in our spiritual tradition as Christians, as Catholics, and present it through the lens of redemption, and also offer hope not just as something that we say, but as a sacrament. It's a sacramental hope that we have. And we are challenged to make this hope visible, to make the hope audible, to make the hope contagious, to start a trend, a hope trend around the world. The world, I think the digital world is not, or communications is not optional. The digital world is the new pulpit. That is where we are to go, and make hope amplified from there. And we can renew the world if we learn to communicate with each other. But in doing all of these, I am going to beg that we also be careful about certain things. We can go through this year and say hope, 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 and the hope is empty. A hope that has no substance. So let's not make this year be a year of just empty hope. Put substance in the hope that we're talking about. And let's not simplify hope. If issues require extra reflection, there are wars going on in the world, including the forgotten ones. Let's make that hope have content. Let's not oversimplify complex situations because we're talking about hope. And let's not, because we are looking for views and because we are looking for people who will bring traffic to our YouTube channel or whatever it is, only look for hope with people who can, look for big names. Look for the small farmer somewhere who is also living out hope. Look for the stories that nobody cares about. There's hope there. That's how I plan to live up my hope. Thank you.